Well, howdy, y'all, and welcome to another electrifying episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder, with Nat King Code, coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Joined by my awesome co-host, Mr. King James Stalkup, over there in Big Sky Country, Texas. Give him a number one hook 'em horns over there for the number one Texas Longhorns, and also horns up for my metal fans out there. But really awesome. Congratulations. Your team's doing awesome. And like I said, it couldn't have happened at a better time. But we'll see. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So we'll see how that works. But they've been playing good and everything. We got to get the Jaws tune in here. Dun 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 dun. Here comes Daniel. He was already texting me. He's like, I gotta get revenge. So I was like, all right. Well, I was like, I already changed the rules, so a tie equals a guest win. So
you know something I was thinking about today, and I feel so sorry for Quinn Ewers, the starting quarterback for Texas. But Texas gets the number one ranking this last week, and now guess who's starting at quarterback this week? Arch Manning.
Oh, wow.
That sort of sucks. They go to number one, and that it's been since 2008 or 5, whatever it is, since they've been ranked the number one team, and now they go number one, and Arch Manning's the starting quarterback because Quinn Ewers is hurt. I was like, oh, that sort of sucks for Quinn Ewers, but he'll be back after this week probably. I don't blame him. They need to rest and get him ready for Mississippi State, and then go whip OU, and then let's get the Georgia game on. But Georgia's got to get past Alabama first. But y'all can catch up with all that on Monday.
Dude, he's already bombing on me. You got the Jets. It looks like we lost again, Daniel. But we'll see.
King James, go ahead, say it.
I'll take the Patriots. I'll take the Patriots against the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets.
All right. Cool. I'll be the underdog. You and Daniel can copy each other. That's fine.
Yeah, and everybody watches. Y'all need to join us Monday. We have a good time. Go through all the top 25 in college and the top things in the NFL. And then we have our games of the week. This coming week, I'll have 3 games. For next Monday, we'll do USC, Michigan, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and who was the other one? Oh, I don't even remember now. Oklahoma State and Utah. Yeah. Those are 3 for next week. So you still got to get me your NFL game of the week and get it ready this week.
Yeah, I will. I'll look at them and try to see. Like I say, it's probably going to be. I'll probably pick a couple, but it's probably going to have something to do with whoever wins the fantasy for me, because. Man, the Eagles, they won the fantasy for me, and then they end up losing the game, just gave it away to the Falcons. So that was such an awesome thing. It was
one of my buddies called me, and he goes, can you believe this? He goes, we bought these tickets a while back to go to the Texas game Saturday. It's a night game. We want to go down there because they have the big light show, the drones and all that. He goes, can you believe that? We went down there. We got the tickets because they were playing a scrub, and Louisiana Monroe, and here we're going to this game. Arch Manning's going to start, and we've already been offered 10 times what we paid for the tickets, and we told them no.
Wow. That's going to be awesome, especially he looks pretty good. Like, he looks pretty sharp. So
it's going to be lit. There's all kinds of big time recruits going to be there stuff. That stadium's going to go freaking wild. I can't wait. I have all my gear on. I'm excited.
There you go. Right on. Well, I'll have to give the old hook 'em horns from the Mile High City. But I guess let's go ahead and check out the meme. I ran across this last minute. I knew you'd like it.
Yeah, I saw you had one, then you had another one. I said he wants the last one. So, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Don't ask me how I got Daniel's linemen in a meme. But that meme was stolen off the Wall of Shame group, so appreciate letting me steal it. And
I like it.
like I
It's
say,
burnt wire and regret.
yeah, every electrician knows what that smells like.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Like burnt steel and
Freaking awesome.
yeah.
The
It's
welders, especially the welders, do.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Great meme, love it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. We had it was one of the guys that we were sitting there talking, like, it's kind of how all these myth of the weeks come. But me and one of the guys at work were talking, and he's like, yeah, you know what the manufacturer recommends to replace a breaker? And I was like, nah. So I don't know if you got any research in on it. I did a little bit.
I do.
I did a little bit on my end, but we're ready to roll the myth of the week.
All right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, so I have a really awesome myth of the week for you guys this week. We were talking with one of the guys at work, and I was like, you know, he tells me, he goes, you know that after a breaker trips one time, you got to replace it. And I'm like, I don't know. So the myth of the week this week is number 129. I thought it might have been close to 130. We're getting there. True or false? A standard 10K rated multi-case circuit breaker is required to be replaced after 2 trip events of full rated current. So that, how do you check that? How do you know? You know, and it kind of popped up something funny that I thought was really hilarious. So, like us as electricians, what happens? We come in the electric room, we see there's a trip breaker. What do? Oh, let's try to reset it. You know, and so if this is true, that 2 trip events you'd have to replace it, you wouldn't want to just, if you see a trip breaker, just automatically reset it. And a lot of times what I've done is I've actually gone in there, taken the circuit conductor out of the breaker itself, and then reset it, see if it holds. If it trips, then it's a bad breaker. But then you could do like testing on the load side to see kind of what's going on. Maybe check some continuity between that circuit conductor and the ground, and that circuit conductor and the neutral, and see if you could isolate something wrong. You know, like I say, there's been like so many different events that I've seen where we had like drywallers put screws through wires or different stuff like that. So to me, you know, it kind of opened my eyes that you kind of don't want to just walk in that electric room and just automatically reset it, see if it resets. And you know, a lot of times when we're firing up some of these new circuits, you know, you could have wires pinched. I know we had wires pinched in like exit signs, and when you have a hot to ground on 277, it makes a pretty loud boom, you know. So you kind of want to try to avoid that. And like I say, especially with those different voltage ratings on there, you're probably gonna have to watch like having like a 10,000 amp event on one of those breakers, because you could probably just fry it in one time of tripping it. But like I say, when I did some research, I looked around a bunch of different forums. A lot of guys were talking about it. I did have some people on the myth, and I want to just say thanks so much everyone that follows Nat King Code. I got a lot of participation this week. I think I hit like 18,000 just today. So that was really awesome. Everyone's out there checking it out, and I know the 16 amp breaker thing kind of got everyone's attention, and I probably should have tried to erase the circle or something, but it's just an old picture that I had. And it was funny because the guy who posted it, I was like, dude, that's photoshopped, and he's like, no, it's real. And I was blown away. I didn't think they made a 16 amp breaker, but I wasn't trying to like, you know, bait and switch anybody or clickbait anybody with the way that circle's set up, because that's obviously indicating you could use one conductor of AL or CU, or you could use two conductors if they're both copper. And I know we did that a while back, probably about a year ago, if you can double lug breaker,
Right.
which that's actually telling you can. But more or less, this was just to kind of give you an insight as to like what recommendations from the factory do they give you to like replace that breaker. What it come down to, from what I came up with on my side, was that the factory makes them to be able to endure up to 2,000 arc events, but they only guarantee it that it's gonna do it twice. So I guess after it trips twice, then their hands are clean. It did what they said it was gonna do. So
And
that's
how
what I
would you,
came up with on my end. But I don't know. I'll have to see what you had from the old stall cup cable research
well, what
over
I would
there.
say the manufacturer on that little portion that you just said, how would you even know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that argument don't hold in court. I can tell you right now. But I
Dude,
did.
I've seen breakers right out of the box that were bad. You
Well,
know.
as I looked at all of this, I went over to UL 489, pulled some things out, and when you get into these circuit breakers, it tells you they can last up to 10,000 operations.
Right.
So basically, when you look at that, where you have repeated tripping, it's unlikely to run the device. Okay.
Right.
And then it says it can last up to 50 operations during circuit overloads and shorts. So after they did this, they determined here that product testing also states that the examination uses 600% of the breaker's normal current rate.
Right.
So, and when you look at it, they tell you the longevity of a standard circuit breaker is up to 40 years.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
and then if you have other types such as AFCI, GFCI, or CAFCI, they can only last up to 20 years because they have, you know, the built-in sensor inside.
Right. The nice part about like the AFCI, the GFCI, and the CAFCI is that they actually give you a code if you had like an arc event. It'll give you a code and it'll tell you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the nice part about those. The one thing that I really liked about this is, what are we going back to, James? We're going back to 110.3b. Like
Listing and labeling.
That's the only NEC reference that's gonna give us direction on this. You know.
It goes back to what I was saying when you get into these type of things. You know, I was just having or he's arguing with me, Jeff White, and I told him I gave him 1910.7, and he said that the OSHA doesn't have anything to do with building code. So what the hell's building code got to? I said, let me ask you a question. I said, does building code have anything to do with electrical equipment? I mean, these guys are moving back and forth and picking and choosing when they want to apply something. And I just asked him one simple question, which he refuses to answer. And it's a very simple question. He said, the NEC overrides. I said, okay. I said, if the manufacturer tells you that don't put GFCI protection on it, and you do, and let's just hypothetically say somebody gets hurt because of it, or the equipment doesn't operate properly. I said, as an example, I said, say it's an AC unit, and you say you got to have GFCI protection on it, and it keeps tripping. I said, somebody dies because of heat. I said, who's responsible? Is it going to be the National Electrical Code? Is it going to be the manufacturer? And he won't answer because he knows you didn't follow the manufacturer's instructions. And if they told you no GFCI protection, who are you going to go after? Well, they're going to go after the city at that point. They're going to go after who allowed that to go in because there was first of all, it's not an outlet, but let's just go to compatibility issues. you got a compatibility issue, and you've got these guys out there saying, like Brian Rock said, we dictate what you're going to do. No, you don't dictate nothing to
No,
the state.
he said we mandate the use of a Class A device. It's like you
Yeah,
can't mandate the use of
no,
anything. You're just writing the code.
that's right.
But the
And
interesting part is when you go into the EBSE and you look at that UL standard, which is what you're looking at right here
mhm,
for EBSE. It says that standard covers personnel protection for the input and the output of that device.
that's
So
right.
how can you sit there and say there's an outlet outside of that standard that they didn't look at?
Well,
You
and
know,
that's another thing, because when you go look at 1910.7, now this is where it gets interesting when you start looking at this stuff, because one of the things, and you've heard me argue this over and over and over, but when you look at that standard, what is one of the things that to me is the most important part of that is what does the standard, or what does 1910.7 state? Now, that to me is probably the most important part of all of this, because when you get in and you start looking at that section, what does it specifically state you're required to do at that point? Now, this is where I get in arguments with them over and over and over, because and let me explain why it gets this way.
so
Is
this standard would actually require it to have a longevity longer than one use.
That's right.
You know,
Well,
one trip. You know, because like they're not gonna. Nobody's gonna approve that nobody's gonna approve that UL 489 if if it trips one time and you got to replace it.
that's right. Now, the interesting thing is when you look at 1910.7 of OSHA. Now, first of all, it's a federal standard. That point I
Sure.
want to get across more than anything. But when you
Yeah.
get to that point right there, and you're looking at that specific standard, what does it say when you're dealing with uh, developing? That would probably be the best way to put this. What does it deal with when you're developing the standard, or should I say the testing standard and procedure? That's probably the most uh, informative way to put it, because you have a test standard, and what it says very specifically, you want to start at 1910.7C, but you go to C1, it says it's recognized in the United States as a safety standard for providing what? An adequate level of safety. Okay, now that is the most important part. Then it drops right down below that, and you pick up C2, and it says compatible with and maintain current. Now listen to this, with periodic revision. So if there's a revision made, they have to update this standard, or should I say testing standard. And it
Right.
says of applicable national codes and installation standards. Now that's interesting, because you notice they didn't say national electrical codes and electrical installations there. It just says national codes and installation there. That means
Yeah.
it has to take building codes into consideration, mechanical, anything that could have effect on that. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
and they're even mentioning the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and they're not even using that as like gospel. They're saying normally
yeah,
the integrity of standard circuit breaker. So they're saying the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the CPSC, and they're not even quoting it as gospel.
sure.
You know,
And think of this. This is interesting, because when you drop down to C3, this is the most important part of every bit of this. It says developed by a standards developing organization under a method. Now listen to this. Providing for input and consideration of views of who? Industry groups, experts, users, consumers, governmental authorities, and others having broad experience in the safety field involved.
Are you on like a different page? Are you on a different slide that I'm on? Because I'm not reading what you're reading.
No. I'm just telling you what 1910.7 says.
Okay, got you. I just didn't want anybody to be confused.
Yeah.
I thought you flipped a slide and you didn't flip it over here. But
No. I'm just trying to explain. Even when they're developing these breakers, I was giving an example of Jeff White arguing with, but he won't answer any of these questions, and that's what I'm talking about here. If you're looking at this UL standard here, and they tell you it can last up to 50 operations during circuit overloads and shorts, guess what? It's probably a good idea. You don't want to exceed that. And then look here, they tell you normally they even give you an idea of how long that breaker will even last. Now, of course, if you put a federal in, it ain't ever going to trip, but that's a whole different thing. But, the thing that I find interesting, because I did not realize this till I started researching, but when you're getting close, 15 to 20 years, your house, you probably a good idea. You need to go change out your GFCIs.
true. Yeah.
So, and trust me, people don't, but this goes in and sort of gives you an idea based on the UL regulations. And these are put in place by doing what? Testing. They know, they have a good idea how these are going to last. And
what I've noticed is there a lot of times with these kind of devices, with like you're saying GFCIs, they're either going to fail open or they're going to fail closed.
That's right.
And if you got a device that fails closed, that's pretty dangerous. I mean, you're looking at a pretty high arc event, and that's I would make sure that you're not having that happen. We had a GFCI that was an outdoor one, and it failed closed, so it wouldn't trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like a false sense of security. Like that's basically like putting in a fire alarm device that doesn't work.
Sure.
Because then you think you have protection and you don't. So that is very important. And, James and I, we stress the importance of safety. But then you get to this point where you sit there and go, you know what? Just GFCI protect the air. How about you just protect the air that electricity runs through? They're out of control. I mean, to me personally, that's fine. I get it that they've been trying to expand this Class A protection for all these cycles, for all these years, and that's awesome. But it gets to a point where the equipment has to work. This is not going to be a long-term solution for them to just say, do not install stuff that is not compatible with Class A devices. There's getting to be a longer list. I couldn't believe one of the guys doing a podcast actually said to install a standard thermal mag breaker, turn it on for like 20 minutes or something, and then put it on a GFCI so you burn out any kind of moisture in there. I mean, that's ridiculous. Then what happens if that nuisance trips like 3 days later? Now you're back out there and it's all just you're chasing your tail, when a lot of these heating elements are installed in like open air, so they're gonna get moisture in them. They're gonna get is that GFCI gonna really help? Well, when you look at what they're basing these changes off the Consumer Product Safety Commission findings of some of these injuries from this equipment. That's what Code Making Panel 2 is basing some of these changes on for 210.8D. And the thing that's crazy about it is go in there, you can research this and look at this. All these people were like maintaining their microwave while plugged in, maintaining their oven while plugged in. Yeah, you can't do that. That's a violation of the manufacturer instructions, just like me and James have been saying. You can't take a violation of manufacturer instructions, people abnormally using equipment, and make a code change based off that.
That's what they're trying to do, and that goes back to, like I've said, you put that in there. That wasn't technical merit, and there was a reason why the Standards Council rejected Code Making Panel 2, their TIA, and accepted the one that was done by the task group that actually had technical merit to it.
Well, yeah, and there's a reason that 422.5 is not code making panel 17 is not accepting code making panel 2 for 2026 because it's going over the top. It's too much. It's too radical. And I do want to say thanks for the likes tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks you guys for smashing the like button. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, I'm going to grab this real quick because I want people to see just exactly what you were just talking about. Um, because I think this puts into perspective what we've been stating for a while. But if you go over, and I'm going to end up sharing the screen here uh, because I think it's important. Um, let's see. All right, let me share the screen. I want everybody to see this. Anybody that reviews this uh, can see. You know, one of the things I like, you know how I am, I like to go through everything so people can look and see what we're saying here. All right, do you see here the change to 422.5?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's small, but
Okay.
like I
Well,
say, you can
I'll go
you
through
can
it.
interpret it for us.
When you get down to the committee statement, the last, right above the last sentence, it says, code making panel 2 has purview over branch circuit requirements in 210.8D, and code making panel 17 has purview over the requirements in 422.5. Now why would you have to state something like that? Because when you get here and you start looking at GFCI protection, they're sort of breaking this down, and you'll see when you get to B, you got your general appliances there that deal with GFCI protection, and they have the items listed here. Now, what do you
Mm-hmm.
not see in there? Well,
The thing that lines up with 210.8D.
yeah, there you go. Now, that is what I've been trying to point out to everybody is they're coming in and they're saying, yeah, well, you need GFCI protection for this. Well, what they're telling you is we handle our equipment here. You handle the branch circuit. So apparently there's a disconnect here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, and what we're running into is just like what I was saying. If you go look at the EBSE standard, it says this standard covers the input and output of this utilization equipment. For them to say there's this outlet ahead of that standard and there's this other standard, it's just asinine. I'm just floored, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really like that you put this together because everyone's like, oh, well, there's other listing agencies, but UL. But yeah, what are they following? They're following the UL 489 regulations. If they don't get that 489 regulation, dude, you don't have a product that you might have a product, you have to throw it away after 2 trips. And if that's the case, that's not going to be compliant with a UL or any kind of listing agency in the United States.
Sure.
It
Let's
doesn't
look
matter.
at
It doesn't
this.
have anything to do with code.
When you look at UL 489, is that a testing standard?
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, it is. And that's what I'm saying. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier when I was talking about looking at OSHA. OSHA tells you that you have to follow national codes and installation standards. They're taking
Oh,
everything into consideration before they give that listing and labeling. And for somebody to come in and say after the fact, oh, well, you have to follow the code, and it doesn't make any difference what the manufacturer's instructions say. Well, if that's the case, who's taking the responsibility for the equipment at that point? You can't still place it on the manufacturer when you did something they told you not to.
what if I start calling that UL 489 regulates outlets now? Because I'm calling that breaker an outlet now.
Yeah.
Am I right? Am I right? Just because I changed, I changed what I was saying. Like I just was like, oh no, for a million years, the breaker's been a device, a switching device, but now we got old Willie Jackerson over there calling it an outlet. Are we gonna all now call breakers outlets now? Because
No,
one
you're
person
not.
said, "Oh yeah, that's a point on the wiring system where current's taken to feed utilization equipment."
That's just like, you know,
It's
if I go
ridiculous.
over and I got a switch on the wall and I directly feed a luminaire, where is the outlet at? It's right
At the
there,
outlet
switch
box.
box. Yeah, that's the outlet
Yeah.
box. It's a box, you know, and you know they go, no, it's at the luminaire. Okay, well if I go over here and I got a sealing outlet up there, and I come over and I come off there with a pigtail, and I come over the lighting fixture. Where's the outlet now?
It's where the luminaire connects to the outlet box.
Yeah, it's at that outlet box. Exactly.
The thing is that I kind of threw a lot more shade on that. I actually learned how to do this from all these guys that are trying to throw shade on you, you know, where they sat there and submitted a public input saying that this will clarify the definition of outlet and everything. Guess what? They said it didn't have clarity and it was rejected. And so then I'm like, all right, so you guys say that there's an outlet on all branch circuits, but you can't put that in the definition of individual branch circuit. Why is that? Why can't you put that in there?
Oh, it gets
Because
better.
it's not there. It's not gonna be there, and it's not there. Doesn't have to exist.
Just wait till you see when I get into topic of the week.
All right.
You're gonna enjoy it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we busted this myth this week, and this myth is 100% busted. You can have more than 2 trips on a circuit breaker and not have to just throw it in the trash. There was so many cool comments in the Nat King Code page this week. It meant a lot that everyone was jumping in, participating, and like I say, I don't look at any comments as bad comments on my page. I love it. I love if somebody says, "Oh, you used the wrong picture." I'm happy with it. I like it. So just keep those comments coming. Just keep participating every week. And if you guys have a myth, hit me up. There's a message button on my thing. Message me and tell me like, "Hey, you know, I think you should cover this." My buddy Jethro said that you gotta, you know, you can't put MC in conduit or whatever, and then I could either direct you to the episode where we covered that, or, you know, we could actually cover a new one, and I could add it to the myth list that's in the electrical code discussion for awesome electricians. And like I say, that group's growing so fast. We're at like 26.4 now. We have a lot of people join, and everyone's welcome. Like I say, we love code discussion. I try not to get too many people in there that want to ask like homeowner questions. We're trying to be like professional electricians, and so I will kind of be filtering out some of those people that just want to like advertise their electrical business, or, you know, just want to ask like homeowner questions. But if you have questions that are like code related about something, I'm fine with it. Like, I don't care if you're a homeowner, if you're, you know, inspector, anybody. We had Justin Gibbs in there, and he's asked some really good questions like, is an inlet an outlet? It's a point on the wiring system where current is taken. Feed utilization equipment, you know? And so it's that kind of thing. Like, can you just take one definition and run with it? You know, and I think that's cool when these guys challenge it, and I'm really glad that you challenge it. So appreciate you doing that research, and thanks a lot. Like I say, I think that answers a lot of questions that a lot of people had, and keep them coming, man. We love them.
You know me. I'll
even
research
it. I'll even do a podcast on people's questions. Like, dude, there was one time this guy, he messaged me. I don't want to put him on blast or anything, but I will say Roll Tide, but not trying to put him on blast. But there's some people that have contacted me, and they're like, well, hey, I got this weird situation. What do you know about it? And I'll be honest, like, if I don't know anything about it, I don't know anything about it, you know?
Yep.
But he's like, yeah, I got this weird, it's a corner grounded meter. And I'm like, what? I've never heard about that. If you do a corner grounded, it's going to be in the transformer. It's not going to be in the meter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started kind of talking to him about it. I'm like, you might want to look at that. I don't think that thing's supposed to be grounded, dude. And Daniel knows about the 277 volt electric fence we were talking about that happened one time. But that was the one thing that I thought of when he was talking to me about this. And I was like, you're telling me that B phase is grounded on a 3-phase 480 volt meter? I'm like, that's not right, dude. I was like, something's wrong. So then he was like, well, I'm going to do some more reading on it. I'll get back with you. And I was like, all right. So then he read, it says this meter comes out factory wired single phase. To make it 480 volt 3-phase, remove the ground strap. Mm-hmm. You know? And Daniel knows, like, these guys actually created a 277 volt electric fence one time doing that. And so you got to be really careful. Like, you can't just be this know-it-all, like, whatever. But I wasn't trying to be that way. I was like, you know what? This sounds a lot like the 277 volt electric fence situation. And so this gentleman, he was really freaking cool about it. He's like, "Ooh, thanks so much. I'm so glad you knew about that." And they took it all apart, took the grounds out, put it together, and it's working great today. So, you know, big shout out to all the people that follow the page and message me and just say, hey, have you ever heard about this? Because it's like, oh yeah, I heard about the 277 volt electric fence one, you know, and that's exactly what happened. So what ended up happening was they energized it and they were getting weird voltages, and somebody told them, nah, what you need to do is you need to bond it to this fence. So they went and they bonded it to one side of the fence. Well, the guy was going to close the gate on the fence, and he grabbed the 277 side. He didn't get hit until he grabbed the other side, and then he completed the circuit 277 and blasted him almost in half. Like, it was bad. I mean, it was a bad situation. So a lot of times when you have those situations where you're getting wonky voltages, you kind of have to know what you're doing, and it could be a high voltage live moment. So you don't want that. You don't want high voltage live.
No, you don't. Whew. All right. Well, you ready for the topic? Think you're going to like this?
Okay. Oh, everyone's ready. Everyone's been asking me. Hey, let me just handle something real quick right here, just for 1 second.
Okay.
Do you think a 277 volt electric fence is funny, Daniel? Come on, man. That's not funny, man. That's not funny, man.
All right. We're going to still be looking at the 2026 NEC changes. And we finished last week right in Article 680. This week we'll finish up Chapter 6, and then we only got 7 and 8 left. But what they did, they made some changes here in 680.32. And what they are clarifying here is for the GFCI and special purpose GFCI protection. And you'll notice the main part about this is they're talking about receptacles.
True.
Okay. And this is where
yo, what up, Bridget? Thanks for joining. Bridget in the house. Awesome.
They said this is one where we're looking where they're used with storable pools. So
right. It
says when you have receptacles located within 20 foot of the inside walls of a storable pool, storable spa, or storable hot tub, shall have GFCI protection complying with 680.5B or SP GFCI protection with 680.5C as applicable if any of the following conditions exist. Now, if you notice here, they come in and they're talking about branch circuits. Okay. And what I like to point out is, why don't they just say all outlets here? Okay.
Yeah.
They're very specific. They're saying all receptacles. And these are receptacles that are supplied by branch circuits, are rated 150 volts or less to ground and 60 amps or less single phase. And then branch circuits rated at 150 volts less to ground and 100 amps or less three phase. And then if supplied by branch circuits where it's exceeding 150 volts to ground but not exceeding 480 volts phase to phase and 100 amps or less. Okay.
Oh
Now,
yeah. I'm working with Bridget now, so awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to be on the team, Bridget. Awesome. Yeah. So sorry for interrupting.
oh, no worries.
Pretty cool.
But the thing I like to point out here is they put down in the last sentence here in their committee statement, this revision reflects the available higher rated GFCI devices and harmonizes with the code with existing provisions such as 210.8b. Additionally, 680.32 was separated to a list to improve usability. So if you look at that, they're just saying that you have these higher rated GFCI devices and they harmonize with 210.8b, where we're dealing with what? Commercial industrial.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the thing I think that's problematic, I wish I would have like kind of did a little bit more public comments on it, is how they're saying a branch circuit rating rather than, because they're saying that it all ends in an outlet. So why are they trying to focus so much on this branch circuit rating when I thought that all branch circuits had an outlet? Why would you focus on the branch circuit rating and not even care about the outlet in this case?
That's exactly right. Well, they're not saying, if you look, there's nothing in this particular one that says one thing about an outlet.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. They're saying all receptacles out there, not saying all outlets out there. So, let's just say I have another outlet that's out there. Does it need GFCI protection? Well, no, not reading this. It says it has to have a receptacle.
Yeah.
And it says that's located within what? 20 foot of the inside wall of that storable pool. Okay?
Yeah.
There's more to come.
All right.
You'll like all this. This is indoor installations. Well,
you could tell Bridget's loving it. Thanks for joining, Bridget. Thanks for the love.
And if you look at this, once again, they're dealing with what? Receptacles. And it says all receptacles located within 10 foot of the inside walls of a spa or hot tub. Well, why don't you just say outlet?
Yeah.
And
you could combine A and D at the same reference.
That's right. But the thing is, it's the exact same thing that we just had in the one before with the exact same conditions for the branch circuits. So, but we'll keep going. Now,
I know we're getting close to mine.
Well, this in here is interesting because this deals with a fountain. Well, looky there, you got a fountain edge that's there. Once again, they're dealing with what? Receptacles that are within what? 20 foot of a fountain edge.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So my point behind all this is I just looked at 3 different type of installations and nowhere did I see anything about an outlet. It's all about if there's receptacles out there. Okay? Well, let's look at another one. This is going to be interesting.
Right on. Thank you, Bridget. That's pretty awesome.
Now, this in here, we're going to be looking at 680.71 and 75 will be the next one. This deals with hydromassage bathtubs and their associated electrical components shall be on an individual branch circuit. Okay? Right. That's all it says. You'll notice they got rid of all this other stuff here. Okay? within 6 foot measured horizontally from the inside edges. They got rid of all this. Okay. But, or right in here. Now watch this. 68075 they added, and they talk about the branch circuit, and it says hydromassage bathtubs and their associated electrical components shall be protected by a readily accessible GFCI. Oh, okay. Then it says, and that's the branch circuit. Okay.
Right.
Then it says receptacles, all 125 volt single phase receptacles not exceeding 30 amperes and located within 6 foot measured horizontally of the inside walls of a hydromassage bathtub shall be GFCI protected. Well, that's interesting. I'm looking at that, and if everything has an outlet on it anyway, why do I even have to classify a branch circuit or receptacles into 2 individual ones here?
Yeah, that's redundancy.
Yeah, it's redundancy. Based on the way that they tell you.
I'll have you know, James, I actually submitted public comments for this to delete branch circuit and to change it just to outlets only.
Well, the thing I want to point out here is look at this. Hydromassage bathtubs and their associated electrical components shall be on an individual branch circuit.
True.
Okay, I agree with that because you're feeding
the outlet doesn't have to
utilization
exist on an
equipment. That's what it feeds, not an outlet.
Yeah,
okay.
the outlet is proven to not have to exist on an individual branch circuit.
There you go.
That.
So now I look at this right here, and I look at the branch circuit, and they're telling you here what everything covers, and they tell you the new section 6A75 was split into 2 subsections for clarity and ease of reading. Well, yeah, it's ease of reading because we know exactly what you mean. One's a branch circuit, one's a receptacle.
Yeah.
It ain't saying anything about an outlet. And then I'm going to feed that hydromassage bathtub with what? An individual branch circuit.
Yeah.
Because it's
and
feeding what?
If you hardwire
utilization
it, there's no outlet.
Equipment.
If you hardwire it, there's no outlet by definition.
That's right. So if I hardwire it, then right here, based on the branch circuit, it has to have what? GFCI protection. But if it was an outlet, why'd I even have to put receptacles here?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You can't pick and choose how you want to apply something. But these are good things to look at here because they started breaking a lot of stuff down. Now, this in here, this is going back to things that we've already looked at, okay? And basically what they did is they went in and they fixed some of this stuff, but what it really got into is explaining here the things we were looking at earlier where you have structural reinforcing steel and copper grids.
Is this agricultural buildings? Is that 682?
No, this is 682. This is where you deal with your bodies of water and stuff.
Oh, okay. Artificial or just bodies of water?
I forget exactly what the chapter exactly stated. I'm trying to remember exactly.
I don't even know if they even have artificial bodies of water, but
I think it's natural and artificially made bodies of water is what it's called.
Okay, gotcha. So you got to have a 48-inch fence all the way around like I had to do on my pool, right?
Yeah, but all this really did here is just tie in the equipotential bonding requirements like we were looking at for swimming pool, agricultural, and everything. Agricultural, we did it first. That was in 547.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I remember now. When they talk about equipotential planes, I keep getting a lot of
they've done it, and I think we've had that now in 4 different spots.
Right.
So.
No, dude, that's awesome. Like, the whole thing is that when you look at, like, my public comments, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to clarify what they're saying because they say all branch circuits connect to an outlet. Then when I go submit the public comment to say, okay, where are you going to say that all branch circuits connect to an outlet? They don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They reject it, and then they say it doesn't add clarity. Okay, well, that means that there's two different kinds of branch circuits out there. There's kind of branch circuit that connects to outlets if it's installed, and then there's kind of branch circuit out there that doesn't connect to outlets if one's not installed.
Sure, that was pretty clear right there. You know, I mean, they literally split it into two different sections now to hopefully clarify that. And the way I look at that, it completely contradicts what 210.8F says.
True. And the thing is that, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that at least it gets diminished a little bit. But my biggest part of 210.8F is when they said covers replacements. Because that's like, to me, that's just double downing on stupid. Like, I mean, there's no way, like, when you look at, like, okay, so you have an apartment complex with 350 units in it. Is that a dwelling unit?
It's a multi-family dwelling unit.
Yeah. So it's a dwelling unit. So you're sitting there saying that now if they got to replace all their AC units, all 350, they all have to be on a Class A device, and
No.
they got like a 52-week lead time on some of their freaking gear from some of these manufacturers, and you're sitting there telling me that you can go replace all your AC units in a month with a 10-week lead time or a 15-week lead time. I mean, you're out of your skull if you
They
think
wouldn't
you
even
can do
pull
that.
a freaking permit on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was my public comment. Is like that is 100% unenforceable.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, even if an AHJ was to enforce it, let's just say let's say they got you back out of retirement for a city of Grapevine, right? And they're like, all right, we need you to go out and inspect this multifamily dwelling, changing out AC units, and then they're like, hey, do we got to put these on Class A protection? You'd be like, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, nah, dude, that's stupid. Like, for one, it ain't an outlet. For two, why would it need to be a replacement when you're upgrading from an older AC unit that possibly has hazardous conditions that's going to be hazardous to personnel to a way lower efficient unit that's like in better shape and the grounding's better? Most of these HVAC equipment's not even metallic anymore. So like their base of this 210.8F, like everything's metallic and could become energized. Dude, if it's plastic, it's not going to become energized. Why are you putting that on a Class A device? I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, they have to shut this down at some point. Like, this cannot continue to just expand exponentially. And like we've talked about before, they're sitting there going to boat yards, marinas, docks. They're going to all these other. Well, now if you install an AC unit there, it's got to be on a Class A device. No, it doesn't. Nowhere in the code does it say it has to be on a Class A device. You know, and it's ridiculous. Like when you're sitting there looking at that in boat yards and marinas, and it says you could have 30 milliamps on a power outlet. You know what I mean? That's on the dock. You know, and so then you're going to sit there and say, nope, it's got to be Class A if it's a hardwired utilization equipment. It's ridiculous.
SPGFCI is what it would be, like I stated a long time ago. And, you know, I'll bring this up. Let's just say you have an AC manufacturer and he says no GFCI protection. Guess what?
Yeah.
You don't need it, period. He's the one responsible for that equipment. And they'll sit there and argue with and say the code overrides that. No, it doesn't. You don't override that. I guarantee you this, and you'll never hear NFPA say we override the manufacturer's instructions. You know why? Because they'll take responsibility for that equipment. That's never going to happen. And, you know, it's like I said, well, let's just say you put GFCI on it and it trips and it's here during summer and somebody gets killed due to heat exhaustion, you know, an old person. Guess what? That family's going to go sue. Well, first they're going to go to the manufacturer and they're going to say, hey, look at here. I can tell you what's going to happen in court because I've done all these cases. They're going to go into court and they're going to say, Right here, we told them not to put GFCI protection on it. And they did anyway. Then they're going to go to the contrary and go, well, the city made us put it on there. Well, then you're going to go to the city and say, well, the code says you have to have it. And they're gonna say you overrode the manufacturer's instructions. You're responsible. I can tell you what's.
And guess what? The code don't say that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
never
but
said it in the first place. But
no, I know it's so stupid. Like, I could see, like, the thing that irritates me about the whole thing is they're like, okay, there's this shock hazard, there's this shock potential, there's this problem, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all basing it off this one thing. You know, like, dude, the dryer thing, dude, I'm 100% on board with Class A protection on a dryer. I've told you about this a million times. You know, a lady and her daughter were found dead, electrocuted off a freaking dryer that got energized, you know. There's a lot of human interaction with the dryer. Like, that should 100% be on a Class A device. I have no issue with that. But, you know, like, going looking at it in 2020, if you were to hardwire it, you remove the receptacle, was that the problem? You know what I mean? We don't know. Like, maybe hardwiring that dryer would have saved 2 people's lives rather than using a receptacle. Maybe the receptacle is what energized it. You know, maybe it was a 3-wire that, you know, didn't have a neutral. You know, maybe it energized through the ground somehow. You know, we don't know. We don't know any of these cases, but I'm totally fine with the dryer being on a Class A device. 100%. Now you're sitting there telling me that gray box on the side of my house nobody ever goes around, that's got to be on Class A? That's ridiculous. I mean, these guys are out of their skull, and then they're going to try to say there's an outlet somewhere, but we can't even point to it on our illustrations. We just got illustrations that just hover with no arrows because we want this to apply. It's ridiculous. And then they're going to say it's where the wires come out, the seal tie is your outlet. You know, I mean, it just blows me away. Like, you can't do that. I mean, you can try, but nobody's going to take you seriously after a certain point.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is what it is. But I don't see anybody in here for the quiz. You want to run the tool?
Yeah, sure thing. We'll get her going right now. Boom.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
Alright, so I'm back to doing kind of an outdoor project, and this is a must-have go-to tool to have on the site. It's called a handheld Anemometer, and basically it's the thing I like about this, it checks wind speed, it checks wind chill factor, it checks, so there's so many things. Like, if you guys are really serious about safety on your job sites, I would really recommend having one of these, because this thing can tell you a lot of things about what's going on with weather. And you really have to know. You really have to know heat index, your wind speed. We have thunderstorms rolling in. We want to know there's. You can even check, lightning in the area on your phone and say, well, wind speed's picking up. That's they go kind of hand in hand. But this is a really good tool to have. Like, this thing, I think, is like less than $30. Like, I was blown away. This is a must-have. Now, I cannot help you guys because my invention would be one of these that charges itself based on wind speed, but I didn't invent that yet, so they don't have one that I'm looking. There might be one, but it would be sweet if they actually had one that charges itself based on wind speed. But I don't know if it'd really save you because you're going to check the wind speed and it's dead and it don't have any, it don't have any charge, but like I say, this was a must-have. Like, if you're working outdoors, I've told James before, I worked out gas and oil a few summers ago, and I would have loved to have one of these when we're up on the spider line and we're 30 foot up in the air, tied off, walking across those racks. It'd been really nice to have the BTMETER BT100 handheld Anemometer on our site. So
Awesome.
that is my tool of the week, and like I say, I'm gonna definitely get me one of those. I actually got the app on my phone, and it works pretty good. But now you have to go buy that so you can compare them and see if the app's wrong or if the like which way the wind's coming from, or it's, you have to prove the app wrong. And so one technology trumps another technology. But like I say, if you're working outdoors, it's probably a good idea to have them. But do you want to go into the Willie Quiz first?
Let me go ahead and get the question of the week.
All right. Yeah, I don't see anybody in here, so
let's see what you got. My building has
just a little theory question for you. Pretty simple.
three-phase for a balanced neck.
You probably ain't gonna be able to answer it because there's no power factor in there.
Current load. Okay, let me get my calculator out so I can calculate this. That'd be C, 250.
Ding, ding, ding. You are correct. How did you answer that without power factor in there? I don't even know. Jeff White said you couldn't even answer it because I didn't add power factor in there. But to all you haters out there, the power factor is assumed to be 1 unless the question specifies otherwise. So you always assume the power factor is 1. 99.9% of the time, the power factor is going to be 1.
So well, Jeff, if you'd have studied out of the Stalk Up publication, we would have told you that in the notes and showed you all the different formulas for doing that. Matter of fact, you remember this when we started and we were doing the very first for the journeyman and the masters that we did to start the year. I actually went through all those. That was the very first thing I did. And if you'll go to our YouTube channel, Jeff, you'll have all that there, and it'll teach you how to do that.
And one thing I want to do, too, is I want to reach out to Bridget and all the crew out there that I work with now and wish you guys all a happy podcast day, because I didn't get to wish anybody a happy podcast day, but everyone knows, like, they'll come up to me, like, during the day, they'll be like, hey, what day is it, Bill? I'll be like, oh, it's podcast day. But it's a lot of jokes, and it's a lot of fun. And then they get to see the reason why we come here is because of the Willie Quiz.
All right, let's cue it up.
All right, welcome to the most electrifying quiz on social media, the Willie Quiz. Question number 1. What was the name of the prophet who confronted King David about his sin with Bathsheba? I'm really bummed that Adam isn't here. Adam would know all these. All right, is it A, Samuel? Is it B, Elijah? Is it C, Nathan? Is it D, Elijah? Or is it E, Noah? Good luck, everyone. And so here we start with wondering what you were doing when you were looking at your Coors Light belt buckle in church, and see if you're paying attention.
That would be Nathan.
Oh, Nathan. So let's see. Daniel comes up with C. Oh, Ann, welcome in, Ann. Ann's. Oh, she's over Team SOS. Ann's got some answers too.
It's Nathan. I know it is.
All right. Well, the answer is C, Nathan. We have 3 correct answers on the first question. Congratulations, everyone.
Actually, are all the questions on the Bible?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this
Yeah,
gonna
you
be
should
good
get
for
them all.
me.
Yeah, I told everyone it's easy. All right, so
Well, in case some of y'all know, I'm creating a podcast right now for my brother Frank, who's actually, I think he's going to call it the biblical truth, is what I think, or he's going to do Revelations. I'm not sure, but
okay.
I'm creating this podcast for him right now. So,
Oh, the Jets must be winning.
yeah, there you go, Daniel.
Hallelujah.
Follow
I'm
me
still
on
taking the
this.
Patriots. Still taking the Patriots. All right, question number 2. Which of the following books is not considered part of the Pentateuch? What? I don't even know how to say that. Is that Pentateuch? Pentateuch? I'm pulling
Pentateuch.
Adam here.
Pentateuch.
Pentateuch. All right, Pentateuch. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for correcting me. Adam just came out of nowhere and corrected me. All right. Is it A, Genesis? Is it B, Joshua? Is it C, Leviticus? Is it D, Deuteronomy? Or is it E, Exodus? Good luck, everyone.
And I know this one too. This is the first 5 books of the Bible by John, and the only one that's not listed in there is Numbers. But the ones that you have is Genesis, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Exodus. Joshua is not one of the first 5.
All right. Well, it looks like Daniel's going with Deuteronomy. Oh,
Wrong. It's B.
Daniel. And it looks like King James is going to copy and take the lead tonight with the second correct answer. The answer is B. Joshua.
There you go, Ann.
Gotcha, Daniel. Ooh.
I know that.
All right.
I know
How
this
many
one too.
plagues did God send upon Egypt before Pharaoh let the Israelites go? Was it A7? Was it B8? Was it C12? Was it D9? Or was it E10? Good luck, everyone.
And
Yeah,
would be correct on that.
And that's a really good answer, Ann. Thanks for joining. We knew we'd have a Bible scholar jump in the chat.
She knows her religion. I love it. Daniel got it right. I remember this a long time ago when one of the greatest movies ever made was The 10 Commandments. And it was ahead of its time. Had, what's his name? The guy that played Moses in that. And, oh, God, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he played that, and man, he was fantastic. But you watch that show, I always tied it in the 10 plagues, so like the 10 commandments. There were 10 plagues and 10 commandments. So, E's the answer.
Oh, what is Ann saying? Neither E or C.
It's E.
It was 11? All right. Well, the source that I used says Daniel and King James get a win. So congratulations, Daniel and King James. So far, Daniel needs one question to make up.
Okay.
Oh, she said either.
Yeah, either.
Oh, because at the ninth one, then they sent the next one. So.
Okay.
All right, that's fair enough. I'll give you a correct answer, Ann. That's cool. All right, so in the Gospel of John, who was the first person to see the risen Jesus? Was it A, Peter? Was it B, Mary Magdalene? Was it C, John? Was it D, Thomas? Or was it E, all of the 12 apostles? Good luck, everyone. See, I told you this was gonna be super easy, James. I knew you were gonna know every single one.
Well, it was his wife, or at least that's what the Da Vinci Code tells you. Mary
Right.
Magdalene.
All right, and Daniel copies you with answer of B, and you guys are all correct. So far, all correct answers tonight. I really am just so blessed that you guys know all these answers tonight.
I'm glad I do.
Let's go to the final tie-breaking
I know
question
this one
number
too.
5. What is the shortest verse in the Bible? Is it A, rejoice always? Is it B, do not tear? Is it C, Jesus wept? Is it D, God is love? Is it E, amen? Good luck, everyone.
I'll let everybody else answer. I know this one.
All right.
I'm going 5 for 5 tonight, baby.
All right. Oh, is this question number 4? We might solve one more.
No,
All right.
it's just 5.
Is it? All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. Ann is
No.
going B or
No.
D.
It's neither one of those.
Oh, Ann. Ooh, good one. Daniel is saying Jesus
That's
wept.
correct.
C.
That's correct. Jesus wept.
Looks like King James and Daniel tie, and no, I'll have to give King James a win on this one, but it was a lot of fun to
My
get you
family
guys
would be
fired.
ashamed of me if I didn't get 5 for 5.
Yeah.
I actually study the Bible quite a bit, and I mean, I
Thanks
don't know
for
everything.
joining. That's so awesome. You joined Ann. I sent over a message to Adam, and I totally forgot my pickle shot too. So I was like, dang it, one thing I missed. But thanks for joining, Ann. It's so awesome to have awesome people, who know the gospel and know the.
You need to do Revelations, man. I get off on that. I know that really well. So.
All right, next week is the book before Revelations. The one James didn't even pay attention to. But no, I'll get you. I'm gonna get you, dude. But we actually have a lot of people that join in the chat that are very intelligent and very smart people. And thanks so much. Daniel was this close. Missed it by this much.
You're getting there, Daniel. Keep working at it, baby. You're almost
Dude,
there.
I'm telling you,
Getting on this
Daniel,
IQ level over here is hard to do.
I'm gonna buy Daniel a podcast recorder so he could write the podcast of how the Willie Quiz is unfair and cheating, and it'll be all good. Dude, Daniel, it's not the first time it's happened to me. You know, there's.
You did one time. I went 0 for 5. I didn't have a damn clue about any of that.
Dude, the one that was the funniest was the lithium battery one. And you're like, yeah, right, we ain't putting it out with water. And I'm like, actually, water's the only thing you can use, you know?
Yeah.
But it was funny. I was like a listed fire suppression system. You're like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to use. I was like, no, you got to use water, bro. But
It is funny because, I mean, you know, sometimes it's a subject I know, I kick it, you know. Then there's others, I'm like, shit, I ain't got no idea. I mean,
dude, the funniest one was like how long your OSHA card lasts for. That one was good. Daniel got that one right.
I missed that one, yeah. And,
So.
you know, I took a guess. I wasn't 100% sure. But,
True.
you know, that's what makes it fun, you know. It's just, I love guessing, you know. And just, you know, like I say, I do this year, I've done really good. Last year, I did really good, but there was some that you asked, I didn't know anything about them. I'm like, God dang, at least pick something I know something, a little something about.
Okay, so next week is World Cup soccer. No. No.
I don't
I'm
know
gonna
about
get
that. I don't know.
I'm gonna go
anything
talk.
about
I'm gonna get with Adam this week. I'm gonna get with Adam. I'll be like, how can we pull King James? I'm gonna have like a little meeting. I'll be like, all right,
hockey,
nuclear science, like something. We're gonna get you on something, man. Something we're gonna get you. But the whole thing that's cool is thanks so much everyone for joining on the Willie Quiz. It means a lot. I really had a lot of fun having guests on, and it means a lot to bring up like the podcasts like Rising Rhino has a sports podcast. Team SOS, Vibing with SOS, they have a podcast, and it just means a lot doing the collaborations and bringing everybody up to the top. So appreciate you, and thank you, Daniel, for your new podcast, the Willie Quiz is Rigged. That's gonna be awesome to see that one come out probably next week, you know. But we should have a lot of fun with all the new podcasts out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we got one thing left this evening, and that is the Wall of Shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
You will love this one, man. This one was good, man. I really like this one. Oh!
Oh, damn. What a
1,
pull.
2, boom! Like, dude, I would just, like,
Idiot.
I don't know.
Idiot.
Yeah. If somebody said, get my phone out so I could take a picture.
Golly.
Man, like, when I saw that, I was just like, dude, I'd let that shit burn.
Hell yeah, I'd get as far away from it as I could. I wouldn't be messing with that. Wow.
I mean, like, even if, so this comes in, and we've talked about this a lot when we've had, who do we have on? We had, your buddy from Castle Rock Safety, and,
Mike Barr.
Yeah, Mike Barr. And you have a lot of different things that you come into with this, because you're going to do that, and I mean, who knows? Maybe that's sand, non-conductive sand. Might be all right, but the whole thing is you're going to have to go off a different standard than NFPA 70E, because 70E doesn't cover that kind of installation. So that's the whole reason I picked this week, because if that's water in that bucket, you're done, buddy. You're gonna meet Jesus.
He probably was trying to get it put out. The football game was on.
Maybe. You know,
I'm
maybe
sorry.
he was
Looking at that
may-
picture there is probably soccer, or it is football over there. So
dude, you wouldn't believe, freaking, I couldn't believe it when I looked. Tom Brady you can still draft Tom Brady on your fantasy league.
really,
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, and they do that on purpose, I think. So you just like, oh yeah, I'll take Tom Brady. You know, like, what do you take Tom Brady as like an announcer for your team or something? Because he's not in football anymore. But it was funny because doing that whole episode with the fantasy football thing, they actually took sometimes players that were dead because
Wow.
they didn't know. They didn't have enough information. So they're like, oh, I'm going to take this guy. And then kind of find out he died suddenly in like the summer on like the off season or something. And then they come out for the next season and they got a dead player on their team. And so that was part of what they were trying to do with the fantasy. Like they didn't have all the experts out there telling you who to start. But it's funny. I was sitting there. I told my brother, I was like, man, how do I get like better players, or how do I, you know? And he goes, oh, you just gotta go look at your free agent list, you know. And so I'm like, all right, let me go over and I look at the free agent list. I'm like, dude, Derek Carr's on there. He's like, you're telling me the number one dude in the whole NFL's on your free agency list? I was like, yeah. He goes, get him. And I was like, all right. So now I have Derek Carr and Kumara on one of my teams. So it's like, oh, you got the number one and the number two players on your fantasy team. So it was cool to see how the fantasy evolved and everything like that, and how it's a fun game. I love it. I mean, especially being a Broncos fan, and we are 0-2. You know? We might have a new meme for Monday night, depending on how the Broncos play, but
well, we'll be getting into all that come Monday.
yeah. So I really appreciate everyone for joining. Thanks a lot, Ann. Thanks a lot, Bridget. Really glad to be on the team Bridget now. Like I say, there's a lot of quality tradesmen out there that I work with, and it means a lot to be taking some of these jobs. Like, it's crazy because, like, I didn't even know this before. I started doing some research, but if you're on like a prevailing wage job, if you go into the paperwork of the prevailing wage job with the government, it says this should be contracted by a union signatory contractor, you know? Well, it's getting to the point now where all this technology is outside their realm. I mean, you don't have signatory IBEW contractors that know how to do solar. They don't know how to do EVSE. They don't know how to do all this different stuff. You know, like all these technologies are beyond their, you know, their scope, their learning, you know. So it's a little bit sad in a way, you know, that now all of a sudden there's all these government jobs that come up and these guys are like, okay, boom, we're going to do it for this much. It's going to take us this long, da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, okay, you get the contract. And they're like, well, let's put out some bids for signatory contractors, and they're not there. And it was crazy because the guy who I'm doing this with, he's from Philadelphia. He was saying they had the glass guys were trying to do like the solar panel part of it, and you know, the roof guys were trying to do like the mounting part of it, and you know, like all these different things, or all these different unions are trying to step in and do it, and they had no knowledge of how to make it work. Yeah. And so they ended up taking the solar company's bid and just like whatever it costs is how the solar company do it, because they know how to do it. And to me, I'm honored that I'm in that kind of realm where I'm willing to learn and willing to, you know, learn something new and move up in my field, you know, and not just stay stuck in that inside wireman or just whatever, you know. So I encourage every apprentice out there, every electrician out there, you know, expand expand your knowledge, get more licensing. You know, I have a NISAT 2, I have a NISAT 1, I have journeymans. I had journeymans for multiple states. I didn't renew my Wyoming this cycle. I was like, nah. I was like, I'm gonna stay out of Wyoming. But the whole thing is, it's like I don't really care, honestly. I like having as much licensing as possible, but I can't be in both states at once. You know,
That's right.
If I'm doing work in Wyoming and doing work in Colorado, I'll get that. But then Wyoming pushes it even farther. They're like, "Where's your Cheyenne?" You know, and you're like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, $150. You gotta go get your Cheyenne." I'm like, what? So it's pretty crazy the way a lot of these jurisdictions are. But at the same time, with Colorado, I don't know if you heard about this, James. They actually passed a new thing, and it's a new test. They even have it where you have to schedule a test if you're an apprentice that's been an apprentice for 6 years or longer. And you
They're
have to
making them
schedule
take
it.
tests now. Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
all should. I think every state should do that.
Yeah. And so it's pretty cool. And like I say, if you guys need any help taking the test, go right over to the Nat King Code page, and all the answers are on there. All you have to do is just copy them, memorize them, and you pass the test instantly. So
I think every
Yeah.
state should have something. If you don't have a journeyman, you can only make so much. Contractors required by law, you know,
yeah,
and that'll make people start studying and keeping up with the code and stuff. And what are
Yeah.
the proper installations? You want, you know, that's what gives you. You want safety. There's a good way to get safety done, and 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 requiring them to have 70 training and checking this. I've always said some of the best trained people in the world work for manufacturing facilities because they require them to get training, you know, and they do 70 training. They come in, do code changes, you know, specific to commercial, industrial work, you know, and
Yeah.
I know because I've done it for them, you know, and
Well, I'll be honest, the best experience that I've ever had in my electrical career was gas and oil, just because everything you have to follow this and this and this. Like you can't just go, I'm Jeremy Weed and I say blah blah blah, you know, like they're gonna kick you out of there and be like, go back to your union, you know. Like they don't give a crap about all these blowhard guys that think they know everything. Like you're doing it my way or you're out of here, you know. And these guys, not the electric coach says blah blah blah, dude. See ya, bye, you know. And that's what's so cool is like to be like a guy who's like studying code, but not just like the National Electric Code is the be all end all of everything, you know. Like I kind of learned that from you. You know, because you have to look at all these other standards. You have to be really careful. You can't just go out on a limb and say, oh, this applies to everything, because that's what a lot of these guys want to do. They want to throw down these blanket statements and just say, this means this all the way across the board. If you guys say there's no outlet, you're a bunch of idiots. Well, what about this case over here? Is this an outlet? Well, no, that's an inlet.
mhm.
You know? And I thought that was a really cool thing that Justin Gibbs put up there, where he's like, is an inlet an outlet?
Mhm.
Because if you go look at it, it says it's a point on the wiring system where current is taken to feed utilization equipment, but it's called an inlet.
Mhm.
You know, and so it's like you can't just blanket statement all this stuff without looking at other sections of the code, just like you were saying. You know, we're going to sit there and say, okay, 110.3b gives you instructions. Like, you might buy a certain breaker for like a certain brand, and it might say, if this thing trips once, replace it, right? Well, the code doesn't give you any direction on that.
Mhm.
You know, you might be able to use it like 3 or 4 more times. But, you know, it's just one of those things that you're going to run into when you're installing stuff. You look at that. The first thing I read is the manufacturer instructions, and like what's my guidance here? What's going on here? And once I read that, then I see how the National Electric Code is going to guide me to make that a code compliant installation. I don't sit there and go look at the National Electric Code and say, oh, well, they says there's an outlet, so I got to put a GFCI on this. Like I say,
Hell, I
it's
even
totally
see manufacturer's instructions now that reference you to certain sections in the code.
yeah.
I mean, if there's
Dude.
could be a discrepancy of some type.
I learned it the most when I was in NFPA 72. You're gonna be in big trouble if you think NFPA 72 overrides manufacturer instructions, because the NFPA 72 strictly goes off manufacturer instructions. Like, how do you maintenance a helipad fire suppression system? You go off the manufacturer instructions. Nothing in NFPA 72 gives you any kind of direction on how to maintenance a helicopter fire suppression pad. The only thing that's in there is manufacturer instructions. Why? Because they change. There's different chemicals they use. There's different systems. There's different maintenance procedures. There's different trucks you have to use. Like now they're using these environmental things where it's like this environmental foam where it doesn't, like you could just pour it right on your grass and it'll help the grass grow, you know? Like they're doing all this stuff now. Like back in the day when they first made NFPA 72, they might have had stuff for that helicopter fire suppression pad that might have killed the grass. And so they said it has to be put in a environmentally safe condition and all this stuff. Well, are you going to go off the code telling you that? Or are you going to go off the manufacturer instructions that says it's environmentally safe, you can put it in the sewer, you can put it anywhere you want, it's made all these different components. So it's all these big things that, like, if you're just strictly going off NFPA 72, you're going to look like a dumbass. Like, especially if you're running like a hospital and all these like big places and stuff, you'll be like, well, the code says blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, the code says that, but like, look at the manufacturer instructions, because the manufacturer instructions say this and that. Almost 99, maybe 98% of the time overrides NFPA 72. So that's where we started kind of going into this originally, was I was like, hey, dude, I went to class tonight, and that, like, almost 99% the manufacturer instructions override the code. There's, like, maybe a small little fraction of, like, where it says, like, if life safety is involved, then you go off the code and you don't go off the manufacturer instructions. It's a really, really small percentage. Like, almost never, you know?
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, NFPA is the same way. I'm like, dude, these guys are saying if you got a refrigerator, you can't install it. You got EVSE, you can't install it. If you got, you know, a freezer out in your garage, you can't install it. If you got this, you can't install it. Like, you can't install nothing code compliant under the code if it's not compatible with the Class A device. So,
Right.
I don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I'm crossing my fingers. We'll see. I'm anxious to see how they answer my public comments, because I brought the heat this cycle, you know, and I'm just like, just tell us what to do. Give us instruction what to do. If this isn't compatible, what do we do? It's not take your refrigerator back to American Furniture Warehouse, you know? That's not the option, you know. That's not in the multiple choice check mark, you know.
Right.
So we'll see, but thanks so much, everyone, for joining the Willie Quiz. I had a great time doing it. Like I say, I wanted to just make sure James was paying attention in Bible class, and looks like he kind of got a few of the little hot points that I brought up. But like I say, I tell everybody I make it easy, and it was easy for King James and easy for Daniel, easy for Ann. So thanks so much, Ann, for joining. Ann has a lot of really good takes on like the Bible and stuff, and that means a lot. And feel free to steal my quiz and use it on your brother's podcast. I give you full rights to steal anything. I am not Napster or anybody like that would care if you steal my quizzes and publish them somewhere else. So I appreciate you, James. A lot of the stuff you put together is really awesome, and thanks so much.
It does take a little time, but it's worth it. So, just keep ticking along. Hell, I mean, God, next February gets here, we've been doing this for 3 years. That's hard to believe.
And we actually did what we said we were going to do with the Monday Morning Coach. So thanks, everyone, for joining us, Monday Morning Coach. It's been a little rough start. Sometimes James doesn't change his graphics. Like, he likes to leave, like, Longhorn symbols in all his graphics for some reason. But you're number one, baby. Number one. So I can't take it away from you. And like I say, the next Monday Morning Coach will have a little bit better graphic setup. We'll have all the little accuracies fixed on that. And I'll do like my power ranking. I'll have a little bit better fantasy breakdown. And we'll just keep going. Like I say, if you guys listen to me on Monday and your fantasy's doing awesome, good job, because my fantasy's doing awesome too. I'm 6-0, so pretty awesome. All 3 of my teams are 2-0, so
That's freaking
I'm
awesome.
hoping to make it 9-0 on Monday morning. I should know, dude. It was crazy. So when I was doing the show on Monday, right, I was losing by like 30 points. And so I was like, man, I'm going to lose. It'll be my first loss. So then I go up there and I start looking at the live tracker. And now I'm only losing by 10. Then I'm only losing by 8. Then I'm only losing by 6, And I was like, whoa. I was like, we're coming back. And it's all whoever it was, the running back for Philly. But I can't remember his name. But anyway, so the running back for Philly is like, he gouged him for 4 yards here. Oh, he got a first down. Oh, he got this. And so all these points are racking up, right? And then all of a sudden, who is it? The quarterback for Philly? Like, I always draw blanks and everything. But
Hurts. Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Hurts throws an interception like on the 4-yard line or something. Like, basically turns it over, and it just basically they lost the whole game. But then all of a sudden it's all the whole thing changes. 99% chance to win because of Jalen Hurts and the offense driving down the field and getting all these yards, getting all these first downs, and they were gonna score. And then I even had, I think, the Philly field goal. So I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna kick a field goal. It's like seconds are ticking down, whatever. I was like, oh, that's awesome, So then I think they did kick the field goal or something, and they're down by a little bit or whatever. I don't remember exactly the whole story, how it went down. But then next thing you know, Houston drives down the field. I think they scored a touchdown or scored a field goal to win, whatever. But basically, the Eagles just left too much time on the clock,
Yeah.
There's 2 minutes something on the clock, and I'm just sitting there watching my points, and oh man, it was funny. And then I was like, all right. And the whole thing was so awesome was I wasn't rooting for any team to win. I was just, what I mean? I was just sitting there watching my points and just like, come on, points. And the other guy who I was up against, his guy was an Atlanta player, like an Atlanta tight end or whatever, and he didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
So, the whole last 3 minutes of the game, he had nothing, and I had all this offense happening, and then my offense that was scoring all these points actually lost the game. And I think Jalen Hurts is a little bit overrated, when it comes down to that. I don't think he should have made that mistake, but it is what it is. I mean, it's every given Sunday, every given Monday, whatever. But that was a fun Monday for me, man. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go realize that I just lost the game, and then next thing you know, I was like, what? I won? And and now that same team my brother's just like, oh yeah, you just pick up free agents anytime you want. Just go over here, do this and this. Next thing you know, like, oh, I picked up Derek Carr, picked up this guy, picked up a new kicker, picked up a new defense. Not going with Dallas Cowboy defense anymore, going with the Houston Texan, which it might be the same. You know what I mean? You never know. Like, it could turn out that, Dallas right now, their defense is ranked at I think they're ranked at 4 or something. And, their average is 10, which is pretty good. You should stay about 10 all year if they keep the other team out of the end zone. I just don't have that much faith in them keep the other team out of the end zone. So then I went over to Tampa Bay. I got Tampa Bay's defense. So we'll see how that works. But like I say, the more that everyone reaches out to me, tells me what they think and what their picks are and stuff, the more I can help them out. But I got the Patriots to pull it through for the Jets, and King James and Daniel. Actually, we'll have the tiebreaker. If the Patriots win, Daniel wins the quiz. If the Jets win, then King James wins. So how about that, Daniel? We'll put you on the hot seat there. So see how that works.
I was going to look and see what the score was. It's the Jets are up 14-3 at halftime.
See?
You're going to lose.
See? All right, Daniel. The decision is on you to switch to the Patriots now, but or forever hold your peace. But the reason I'm sad is because I have the Jets kickers, so that means they didn't kick no field goals yet, so I have 0 points. So
nope. Oh well,
it is what it is.
Let's wrap it up. Let's go watch football. That's what I like to do.
I really freaking love the fact everyone hanging out with us, and thanks so much. And as always, remember, make every day an easy day.
Amen. We'll see some of y'all Monday for Monday morning coach. So everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy all the football, and we'll see y'all Monday or Thursday.
Deuces.